Hey everyone, welcome back to Tallulah Talks. That is me, and I hope you're having a great weekend so far. It is Saturday, which means it is Saturday's haunting hour. And today was actually a story that takes place in Spain, and it's apparently the one of the most haunted stories that they have there. I keep saying story, it's not really a story, it's basically about what happened to this poor family back in the 1990s. It is also the inspiration for a movie that is on Netflix called Veronica. And in the movie, there's a couple of friends and they are playing with a Ouija board, trying to contact someone in the spirit world. And unfortunately, they get found out. I think it's like a Catholic school. One of the nuns come and dispose of the Ouija board, and a lot of really bad things start happening. And in the movie, the family is really badly haunted, but I think an exorcist comes and exorcises the place, and that's it, done. Sadly, this did not happen in real life, and the film is actually based on the Lazaro family, and that is who we're going to look at today. So in the early 1990s, the family of 18-year-old Estefania Lazaro noticed a change in her behaviour. It was kind of like a decline in her behaviour. They previously had not known about the Ouija board incident. The young girl was said to be hallucinating and convulsing, so like she was having seizures, but she was not epileptic. And she would just burst suddenly into these uncontrollable rages, and the family had no explanation for this. These rages included growling, barking, and hissing at her brothers in particular. She also told the family that she saw shadows walking through her room at night, which is obviously quite disturbing for the family to hear. They then took Estefania to health professionals. I guess your first thought wouldn't be to contact an exorcist or the church. They might not have believed in that sort of thing, but obviously your kind of first protocol would be the doctor. They could find no explanation, and on August 1991, Estefania was admitted to hospital in Madrid so the doctors could perform more tests so they could find out what was wrong with her. Unfortunately, the physicians could find nothing physically wrong. I don't know if they did any like mental health tests with the young girl, but physically there was nothing wrong with her. But unfortunately, her health did continue to deteriorate, and the hallucinations that she was having were said to get stronger. After 3 weeks in hospital, workers found Estefania lifeless in her bed. There was no reason for her death whatsoever. And actually, the autopsy report suggested this had been following a heart attack, and the family really struggled with this death because she would have only been about 19 years old when she died, and because there was nothing physically wrong with her that doctors could find, there was just no explanation for why she died or why she had this heart attack. It's like with all that she was going through, her heart just gave up. They did know, the family, that Estefania had been reading books about the occult and spiritualism. It could be that she was just interested in that. But after this and after her death, the school officials then notified the family that Estefania and her friends had been caught toying with a homemade Ouija board. And this was the first time the family had heard of this. And I'm not sure why they would wait so long to tell the family. It seems a bit odd. And they were actually caught within the school premises playing with this Ouija board. And according to friends, it had been Estefania's idea And they then told the family how they utilised a small clear glass tipped upside down, used this as the pointer for the Ouija board. They then each placed their finger on the bottom of the glass and began asking the spirits questions. At one point, the glass was said to fly across the board on its own, and it completely shattered. After this, the nun caught the girls and broke the Ouija board. Now, I've never dabbled in things like that. I think it's a bit dangerous to kind of do that. You don't know what you're letting in. But I know that you're supposed to close it in like a certain way, right? You're supposed to say some words and like thank the spirits and close it in a certain way. Whereas obviously this nun just broke the Ouija board, and so they didn't have a chance to do that. She then questioned the girls, including Estefania, and found out that Estefania had in fact brought the Ouija board to school. And it was done in order to kind of help her friend, who unfortunately her friend's boyfriend had died in a motorbike accident. And so they were trying to contact him, maybe just to see if he was okay, I guess. And although they said they didn't feel any contact with the boyfriend, they all claimed that they saw a thick, dark puff of smoke appear. And the smoke was said to hover briefly over the Ouija board, but then it kind of just surged towards Estefania, and this explains her behaviour, possibly. After Estefania's death, her family did experience very bizarre events, and they began hearing a disembodied voice whispering "Mama." So even after Estefania was alive, the family were continually haunted by this entity, whatever this entity was. It often came from Estefania's bathroom, like the voices, but when they opened the door to the bathroom, there was nothing there. The family normally kept Estefania's room very tidy, but every couple of days they would find that the room had been completely upturned, bed sheets had been pulled back and on the floor, objects scattered around the room. They also began hearing scrapes along the wall and sounds of cackling laughter coming from the ceiling. And at this point, I don't really know why you wouldn't contact a priest or the church, especially in Spain. I'm sure a lot of them believe in spirits. So, like, if that was me, I would definitely contact the church, because that would be freaking me the F out, like, seriously. The situation grew much worse, and they heard echoing laughter all around the house, which then turned into wailing and banging around the house. And that must have been terrifying. Excuse me. They heard what sounded like fists punching through the walls, and lights and appliances would switch off and on constantly on their own. Doors would open by themselves, and they actually resorted to placing furniture in front of closed doors so that the doors wouldn't open and close. But I don't think that worked for very long. The family also described hearing sounds of like wind rushing past them, and the handles on doorknobs would turn. Furniture was flung out of the way, so like I said, when it was placed in front of the doors to keep them closed, it was flung out of the way anyway. And in one instance, a door burst open suddenly and knocked a photo of Estefania from the shelf. When Mum picked up this photo, she suddenly just dropped it, and Estefania's father just kind of looked and was like, "What's going on?" And he then picked up the photo, and he saw that the picture, so within the frame, had started to ignite and was actually burning through Estefania's face in the photo. So that would have been quite shocking for anyone to see, I think. The family also then began seeing what just they described as a strange creature around the house, and it moved very quietly. And I have a few quotes. So the sister had said that she heard a whistling sound and groans near the door. She saw the shape of a man crawling and dragging himself along the floor. He had a black head, no eyes, no mouth, nothing. It was crawling towards us and we started to scream. Toys were thrown violently towards the wall and we heard bangs and shouts. Can you imagine how terrifying that would have been? To see something that wasn't really there crawling toward... Oh no, it's stuff of nightmares, isn't it? Visiting neighbours also confirmed these claims as well. And they report seeing shadows on the walls and seeing objects constantly fly across the room. And I don't know what time this was, but in 1992, Estefania's mum woke in the middle of the night and she said she felt a pressure on top of her, and that she felt this presence grab her feet and her arms afterwards, and she was terrified. And so this then prompted the family to call the police. I don't know if they maybe thought this was something being done to them by like an outside force. But they called the police and the police arrived at the house around 2:40 a.m. The family told the police of the terrifying events that had been happening, and it did go in the official police report, but they were kind of confused as to what they were expected to do. The report states the officers heard loud noises coming from the porch outside, but the porch was completely empty. So not only were neighbours subject to kind of hearing all this going on, local police were, and they even put it in the reports. When entering the home, the police saw wardrobe doors open in what they said was an unnatural way, and a crucified Jesus statue actually separated from its cross. And they did record the experience, and there is another quote that the police officer sat with the family and you could see perfectly shut cupboard open and shut. Moments later, they saw the tablecloth become stained by a brown substance. They then saw the wooden cross of the Jesus statue flip upside down and it was then ripped off. End quote. So unfortunately the police couldn't really do much. They could only put it down on records. I don't know if they kind of said to the family it would maybe be best to move, but that is what the family did. The family put the house up for sale and moved away, and apparently this completely stopped the activity. And that is the case of Estefania Lazaro and her family. I think there is a family living in the house now, but as far as I know, nothing like that has happened again. So it is very terrifying. Can you imagine if that happened to like you or me? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd definitely call the church anyway. But what do you think? Do you think spirits exist? Do you think this was something that was attached to Estefania and just to that house? Let me know in the comments. And also, if this is the kind of content you like, I'm here every Saturday for Saturday's Haunting Hour and every Wednesday for Killer Wednesday. If this is what you like, definitely hit that subscribe button. And if you know of any cases or any stories, send them my way and I will be happy to research them. Thanks for watching.